Now back to our other big story of the night, a deadly double shooting. It happened at Naval Station Norfolk on board the USS Mahan. Tonight we are getting new information about the timeline of events.
Here's what we know. A sailor is dead, as well as the man who shot him. We have learned that sailor's name, but out of respect for the family, we are not going to release that name until the Navy does. Then on your sides, Liz Palka has been working on this story all night long. And what have you learned, Liz?
Well, Tom, this shooting happened nearly 24 hours ago, 11:20 last night. That is when all of this happened. I've spoken to Navy spokespeople tonight. They tell me that Pier 1, where the shooting happened, returned to normal operations. That was this afternoon. Counselors have remained on hand all day to offer help to anyone who might need it. NCIS continues to investigate because there are still a lot of unanswered questions out there. Here's what we know right now.
This is a very difficult and sad time for our Navy family.
Pier 1, Naval Station Norfolk, turned into a crime scene late Monday night and into Tuesday morning.
I want to be clear that the suspect did not have his own weapon.
An exact timeline of the double shooting hasn't been released. The most specific time we know is 11:20 at night. That's when Naval Station Norfolk's commanding officer, Captain Robert Clark, says a man shot and killed a sailor on board the USS Mahan. The Navy tells 10 on your side the suspect arrived on base shortly before 11:20.
A struggle ensued, and the suspect was able to disarm the petty officer of the watch.
We know the suspect, who had credentials to get on base and get onto the pier, was stopped at the Mahan's quarter deck. That's where that struggle happened. Clark says the Navy is investigating how exactly the man got the gun from the petty officer. Whether it was holstered or drawn is not clear.
The suspect then used the weapon to fatally shoot our sailor, who was responding to render assistance.
Shortly after that fatal shot is when the Navy says security forces shot and killed the suspect. There are still many questions. Who was the suspect? What exactly happened on the quarterdeck? And were security measures properly followed?
It's going to make us look at our procedures and make sure that we tighten up to make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to do in accordance with our standard operating procedures.
Several Navy sources tell 10 on your side there would have been 3 checkpoints. The first at the main gate, the second to get onto the pier, and the third at the brow of the ship. Plus, Navy sources say watchstanders at various checkpoints should have books that tell them which civilians are allowed on the pier or ship that day for work. Was every security step followed correctly? That's part of the investigation. The Navy has not yet released the victim's name. We did confirm who he was through his father. We spoke to him on the phone, but we are not going to give you his name until the Navy does. His father did say he was in his mid-20s. His son was. He was a master at arms, which means that he had law enforcement and security duties. The Navy says they'll release more information on that sailor tomorrow afternoon. Live in Norfolk, I'm Liz Palka, 10 on your side.
And we're getting more information here. We have learned tonight that the civilian suspect had what's called a TWIC ID. TWIC, that's Transportation Worker Identification Credential. And here's what it looks like. The picture's blurred out here. TSA says to get one, you must be fingerprinted and go through a security threat assessment. That card would be valid for 5 years. The suspect's TWIC ID would give him access to the pier, but not necessarily the ship. TSA says it covers Coast Guard credentialed merchant mariners, port facility employees, longshore workers, truck drivers, and others requiring unescorted access to secure areas of maritime facilities and vessels. The Navy does not believe the suspect was a dependent of anyone in the military.
Not with the credentials that he had, not likely a dependent. It was someone who worked on the installation. At a previous time, I don't know exactly the details though.
Now, a Navy source tells us the suspect likely had to go through 3 checkpoints at the gate, pier, and the walkway to the ship.